Welcome back to the show, everyone. I'm your host, Tina Clark. This is the Voices of Healing podcast. I'm also a shamanic Reiki master teacher of Stargazing Angel LLC. And today's guest is Lori Clemmons. And I can't wait to hear her story because she was able to overcome 27 years of chronic illness in 10 months. So, if listeners out there are wondering if holistic modalities are going to help you, I'd tune in right now. I'd pay attention and start taking notes because Lori has lived it and she was able to accomplish it. So, welcome to the show, Lori.
Thank you so much, Tina. I'm so grateful to be here.
So, tell us a little bit more about yourself and what do you do?
So, I am a wellness coach and I focus on brain health, neural retraining for chronic illness. I work a lot with things that help to calm the limbic system, which is that fight or flight response in the brain that we can so often get caught up in when we're dealing with chronic illness.
All right. So, why don't you walk us into your story and tell us a little bit more about what was happening in your life when you did become ill. Like what was happening?
So it seemed like I just got sick out of the middle of nowhere. Got a flu and it just wouldn't go away. Looking back now, I can see that I had been burning the candle at both ends for quite a while. I was working in corporate America, doing the late hours, and then just trying to have a social life and just doing so much and not dealing with a lot of the things that have been going on, just the internal types of things we can just kind of shove to the side. And I got what I thought was a flu, and it just kept hanging on and getting worse. And so, of course, went to the doctor, went through all the medicines, went through so many doctors, so much testing, and it got to where I was bedbound for about a year and a half, with incredible fatigue, just fatigue. There were days I was sleeping 20 to 22 hours. Needing to wait for my husband to come home from work to fix food for me because I couldn't make it to the kitchen. And the headaches, just going from so active just down to nothing, was really, really difficult. And for a while there, I kept thinking, oh, it's going to get better. The right medicine will come along. The right doctor will fix it. And it just didn't happen. So I eventually started making some changes, started eating healthier, stopped the McDonald's, stopped the fast food, and that helped a little bit, which was great, but I still was horribly, horribly fatigued. So I went through the next, 27 years of the ups and the downs, always struggling with the headaches, the fatigue, the skin rashes, the brain fog. All of the different things would come and go, but just never figuring out. It was so frustrating, and deciding like, hey, if I'm going to live my life, I got to get out there and live it. So I just got to buck up and make it happen. Just trying to be strong and pushing through to do the things in life that I wanted to do. But it was always like slogging through the mud and just never really what I wanted it to be. And I remember at one point seeing a doctor who we kind of went through the diagnoses over the years and just feeling totally hopeless. Like there's no way I'm ever going to get through this. And, even just then adding more diagnoses over the years, mold illness. We actually ended up realizing that our home had mold. And so we packed up the kids and the dog in the car and just drove away from the house, gave away, sold, junked everything we owned and took nothing with us so that we wouldn't take the mold spores or the mold toxins with us and completely started over in order to try and see if the mold was the issue. Had a diagnosis of lupus and celiac. So definitely that autoimmune, my immune system was overactive. And I remember when my youngest graduated from high school. And I realized I'd been working for so many years. And I thought, maybe I need to just slow down and give my body a chance to heal. And so I started, at that point, I had been homebound for a few years. So I started finding little things to bring me joy. And so I started doing a little bit of art. Started trying to just walk just a little bit out the front door. And maybe down a house, down 2 houses, down 3 houses, really gently from a place of joy and honoring myself rather than from that place of push, push, push. And that was when things really started to turn around. I felt like I could finally relax and started really letting go of the push and the have to. And once I did that, my body had room to heal. And so within about 10 months, 27 years worth of symptoms and diagnoses were gone. It was just amazing.
Wow. So you're telling me that you healed because you ate healthier, you walked, you did art, and you let go of the have to.
Yeah. And it really, yes, those things, the walking and the art and those things were great, but it was so much the process behind that of instead of living out of have to, should, gotta go, gotta push, it was that, you know what? I'm just gonna let my body and my nervous system relax and let it just heal. And we live in a culture where it's so much about doing more, moving faster, that we can get really easily caught up in that. And our nervous system can stay on high alert and doesn't get a chance to relax and to heal.
I think everybody is suffering from this right now. And so much of our value and worth is looked at as what can we produce? How much money can we make? Do all the time, and how unhealthy that is.
Yeah. And even what does everybody think of me? What is my position in life? So much of that self-esteem can be based on how others view us, rather than on, hey, what makes me happy today? Where can I find joy? How can I relax? How can I really deeply connect with nature, with other people, and getting that joy from that rather than from the accomplishments?
So do you think your body was just trying to tell you, stop, slow down, this doesn't make you happy or me happy? And so just simply slowing down and honoring yourself was enough.
I think that was the start. So what happens is our nervous system learns. I mean, think about when we learn to drive. We practice in order to get automatic at it. And then we don't have to think about it. I mean, I don't know how many times you've done this, but I can end up at home in the driveway and I'm like, oh, I don't even remember driving it, because it becomes so automatic. We don't have to think about it, which is great because that conserves energy in our brain and we're able to learn things. We don't have to learn to drive each time we get in the car. It's amazing. But when we've been stuck in chronic illness, chronic fatigue, pain, whatever symptoms we have, the brain and the nervous system can learn to expect those things. And so we can stay stuck in them. And so we need to be able to rewire those old patterns. Just like again, the example of driving, I know that there have been times when I've moved houses and I catch myself going to the old house because that's that old automatic pathway. I have to consciously say, oh, no, 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 I don't live south anymore. I live north. And then I can reroute that pathway. And it's really the same thing when we've been in these patterns of pain and illness. The brain and body stay stuck in those patterns until we can consciously rewire those old patterns through our nervous system.
Yeah, so you really didn't need to know what caused it
Right.
or where it came from.
Exactly. Exactly. When we can recognize those patterns now, we don't need to go back to when I was 2 years old or when I was 5 years old. We don't need to go back to that. We can say, wow, I noticed that when I'm in a crowd, I all of a sudden get really sound sensitive, really light sensitive, or I get a headache. I wonder what's going on there. How can I see that, not from a place of fear, but from a place of acceptance, from a place of self-love, self-compassion, and then how can I work through that to create that new wire of safety?
I love that. And you just validated me so much because there are times I really try to walk through life feeling through things. What do I feel like doing today? Or, what do I feel like I need? Do I need to rest? Do I need to journal? Did I need to do some art and take art classes? I've been taking art classes with the same art teacher since 2013.
Wow.
Yeah, and I mean, with when you practice anything, you
Mm-hmm.
get better at it.
Yes.
And people will be like, gosh, like, how can you draw this way? How can you paint this way? And I said, because I never stopped taking art classes. I have never stopped like since high school.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I love that.
Yeah. And when we practice, whatever we practice becomes more wired into our nervous system. And so we can kind of look at it and say, okay, when we practice, like say we go out to a restaurant and end up getting sick from whatever. When we think, oh, it was the fish, then the next time we go to a restaurant, oh, don't want the fish. And then we start practicing. We're telling our limbic system, we're teaching it, oh, fish is bad, over and over through our thoughts, through our behaviors. And then that limbic system, that part of our brain that works so hard to keep us safe, can start thinking, oh, well, if fish isn't good, I wonder if maybe pork's not good either. And so we may start having fears over other foods. Then we may start practicing avoidance of other foods, and then that food reaction just grows. I see many people who may have started out with something that had happened, but then it had ballooned into being able to eat only a handful of foods because that limbic system is trying to keep us safe. And so then we can end up going down that path then of having it be overactive and overly cautious.
So it's really not that you have allergies, it's the fear behind the foods.
In the cases of people that I've worked with, that is true.
Wow.
Even you speak of allergies, seasonal allergies. I've had seasonal allergies. Many of the people I work with have had seasonal allergies, so often because we expect it, or because our body has physically wired to be fearful and to be reactive to pollen. So when we can practice just sitting with the symptoms, not out of fear, but saying, yeah, it's here, but that's okay. I'm fine. I don't need to be fearful. We can start to rewire those old pathways and the body can let go of, okay, I don't need to be afraid of pollen anymore. And we can let go of that. I've seen that's just been amazing to see even things like seasonal allergies, food reactions, light and sound, reactions to chemicals and buildings. You know, for a long time, the reason I was homebound was because I was reactive to even things like people's shampoo, people's deodorant. I couldn't get near people because I was so reactive to just the common chemicals that we have in our environment, even organic things. So my body had registered that the world is not safe. All of these things are going to hurt me. So I would react when I was around those things. And so I continue to teach my limbic system to do that because I responded. But when I could sit with those physical reactions and say, yeah, my body's working through something here, but that's okay. It's okay. We're going to be fine. I'll take some breaths. I'm safe. There's nothing to worry about. Then after a while, the brain stops. Oh, I guess we don't need to worry about that. We won't have those reactions anymore. It's not needed. And those reactions can reduce and drop off.
I always thought, how sad is it that people are allergic to nature?
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
Spring comes, we can't go outside because we're sniffy or our eyes are burning. I'm like, how sad is that?
But it really is just our brain trying to protect us. It's just a little misguided. It's a little overprotective. Just like a child, a 2-year-old child who is fearful of the swimming pool. She just needs someone to take her by the hand and gently and slowly teach her, hey, the swimming pool is safe. It's fine. We'll take it at your pace and you're going to be okay. And in the same way, we can do that with some of these things that we've been overreactive to.
So do you think a lot of people suffer from autoimmune diseases? Is this based in fear as well?
From what I have seen is, well, we know that when that limbic system is overreactive, it impacts our immune system. And it can impact the immune system in either of two ways. The first way is think of our immune cells as our little soldiers being out there protecting us. The soldiers can just be so overwhelmed, they can't keep up and we catch everything. Or those soldiers can be overactive and just attacking everything to try and find the invader and can inadvertently start attacking healthy cells. And so that is what was going on with my autoimmune. Autoimmune is when our body starts attacking healthy cells. And so by bringing down that limbic system, by helping it to realize, hey, everything is safe, we're fine, we turn off that attack switch. And so then that autoimmune stops happening. And so it's been really interesting because I still check in with my doctor and she still wants to run the autoimmune panels. And every time it comes back and it's like she acts like I'm cheating on the test because it's supposed to be positive for autoimmune and it's not. So it's really kind of funny to watch. Unfortunately, she never asks what I'm doing to be able to reverse the autoimmune, to be able to reverse the lupus. So it's been kind of interesting to watch.
I can't imagine not wondering how you did it. You know?
Yeah.
Maybe that's her fear. She doesn't want to hear how you did it because then it would change how she looked at things or treated people.
Yeah, good point.
Might rock her world too much.
Yeah, it's just been really interesting watching her. I kind of enjoy going in for that appointment because it's like, okay, what's she going to do this time? So, but yeah, it's been pretty eye-opening to see that the expectations are once you're sick, you're always sick. That's not always the
That's
case.
not true.
It is not at all. And I think, like you and I were talking about earlier, we're learning so much about how the mind and the body work that it really is opening up so much when it comes to just holistic healing and wellness.
And
And it's
I've already interviewed 70 people for this show, and they're proof that you can overcome a multitude of health issues and diseases.
yeah, yeah. But so much in our culture, it's like, oh, you have this, you got it forever. That's just the way it is. And there's that hopelessness. But really, there's so much out there that
Yeah,
we
I'm
can.
I'm the kind of person. I've been diagnosed with a bunch of things over the years, and I never lay claim to that.
Yeah,
I'm like, okay, well, that's what I'm going through now, or that's what you're describing my issue now, but it doesn't mean that I'm going to have this forever.
yeah.
And I've been able to overcome some of those diagnoses. Actually, yeah, all of them. And I'm working on some right now.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, and our bodies go through things.
Yeah.
Right now, even though I don't have a diagnosis right now, yeah, I might have something. But to use that diagnosis as information of how can I better care for myself? What does my body need now? And what can I do to support it, what it's going through? Which is a whole different mindset than the typical medical mindset of take pills, gut it out, and yeah, it's just the way it is.
So what do you think the body needs the most?
From my perspective, I see that the body needs to relax the nervous system. Because when the nervous system is activated, the body is focused on getting to safety, fight, flight, freeze. And when that nervous system is in that place of gotta get to safety, it's not thinking straight. You think about we evolved with this fight, flight, freeze response to keep us safe out hunting. And in early cultures where people were out, they could be attacked by wild animals. And the fight, flight, freeze response kept them alive. And so they needed that response. When they were triggered into fight or flight, they, basically probably had about 20 to 30 minutes. You either fight or you flee. The lion either gets you or you get away. And then you can relax. And so during that 20, 30 minutes, they didn't need critical thinking. They didn't need to be digesting their food. They just needed to be running. And so when we're in fight or flight, all of our energy, all of our resources go toward running, escaping. And which was great for them. They didn't need to be thinking. They didn't need to be doing algebra and so we get into our society now, we get a stress response, but our stress responses tend to hang on. We have financial issues, we have work problems, we have all of just the way our society is, we have a lot of stress. And so when we're triggered in that fight or flight response, our we're not able to think straight. Our bodies are sending all of our energy and resources toward fighting or fleeing, but we're kind of stuck. It's not like we're fighting or fleeing. Fighting or fleeing isn't going to help us. But we don't have energy and resources to go toward critical thinking. So we don't know what we need. Think about if you've ever been in a critical situation, we don't think straight. When we have pressure, you got to buy this now. It's only on sale for the next hour. We make really bad decisions when we're under pressure. And so if we could do one thing is calm that limbic system, then we would be better able to, okay, what's the next thing that I need? But as long as that nervous system is triggered, then it's going to be really difficult to know what we need because we're having a hard time really listening and figuring it out.
I can see a lot of people who could be stuck in this loop of a nervous system that is dysregulated all the time. And then they're trying to regulate themselves through things that are not healthy, like alcohol or, I don't know, overworking or whatever it is.
Yeah.
People are trying to find solace with.
Yeah, and some of those things we know are bad. Alcohol, drinking, drugs, we know those things are bad, but some of those things are actually socially acceptable and actually praised. Overexercise. Oh, you're in such great shape. Overworking can be praised. Focusing on accumulating things to feel safe. So we really have to slow down and take the time to sit with ourselves and process and be able to say, what is it that I need right now? How can I get back in touch with all of that that's going on inside? Social media, how easy it is to just scroll social media rather than dealing with difficult thoughts or difficult emotions.
Or staying busy all the time.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to stop, because then those thoughts and feelings are going to come up that you've been avoiding.
Yeah.
But there's no way to get around it, right? It's not going to go away, and then it might manifest itself into illness.
Yeah. Well, and that was where I had been. I had been keeping so busy with all the things that my body finally said, I can't keep doing it. You need to slow down because we can't keep going. And even then, it took me all those years to be able to really slow down and face those things and start working through things.
So what would be some of your tips for the listeners on how do we figure out what our bodies are trying to tell us?
So the first thing is that I teach is creating a positive environment around you. So we can easily distract with the news, social media, with unhealthy relationships, with all these different types of busyness, but instead being able to slow down and create that positive emotional space around you, making room for art, making room for meditation, making room for meaningful conversations, making room to really listen to what's going on in your head. That self-talk. I never realized I had self-talk until I learned how to slow down and listen to it. And I realized some of the most common self-talk that I had was, you're such an idiot, you blew it again. Not helpful. I wouldn't speak to anybody like that. But yet that was my constant inner dialogue. No wonder my limbic system, my nervous system was so activated. It was being yelled at constantly. So when we can really slow down in our environment and begin to listen to that, that can be a really great first step towards that. The second step is befriending our body. For many of us, our body is the enemy, especially if we've been dealing with chronic pain, chronic illness, fatigue. our body can feel like it's betraying us. And it did for me. I was angry with my body. It's like, no, you're just going to do this. And rather than saying, okay, my body needs some care right now. My body's doing the best that it can. How can I support my body today in the work that it's doing? And then really looking at our thoughts, being able to listen to our self-talk. What are the ways that we are talking to ourselves of things like, this will never change. I'll always be this way. I'll never heal. I'm a failure. My life is meaningless. I'll just never get over it. It's just bad. Nobody likes me anyway. All my friends are gone. All these things, these are all mine. All of these things were constantly going through. No wonder I was keeping my nervous system activated because of all these thoughts. So being able to hear these thoughts and catch them and be able to say, wait a minute, that really isn't true. And being able to then reframe those thoughts into, I'm not an idiot. I really was trying the best that I could. And you know what? I'm proud of myself for trying. And next time I'll know how to do it better. And being able to do that, really being able to support our nervous system rather than being in constant battle.
Yeah, I don't remember the coach that said this, but she said, be your own coach.
Yes. Yes. Mm-hmm.
And how would you coach yourself?
Yeah.
And would you hire or fire her by what she said? No, I made that up,
But it's true, right?
Fired that bad coach. And
yes.
And ask a lot of questions like, notice this thought came through. Is this true?
Yeah.
Is this really true? Is this helpful? Yeah. Is this kind to myself, or is this being really mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And often we can be so focused on the what ifs in the future that we feel like it's already happened in the present. What if I don't get better? Oh, this is bad. This is bad. I'm not going to get better. What if I don't do a good job on that thing? Oh, yep, that's going to be bad. It's bad. It's bad. Hasn't even happened yet. But yet we've already internalized it and gotten stressed out over it. Hasn't even happened yet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what you're even worried about is probably not going to happen. Which is why I say worrying is a waste of time.
It is. And again, when you're worrying and we're in that fight or flight response, we're not in a place to be able to effectively think through what to do. And so by bringing down the worry, by letting it go and just being fully present in now, then we're better able to think through what are the different options that I have in that situation.
And that's probably why a lot of people feel stuck, because they're dysregulated and they can't think literally straight. They can't think straight. They can't think critically. And so that's why it's so important to find those ways that calm our systems down. Yeah. That's why I feel like a broken record when I always recommend meditation and mindfulness.
Mm-hmm.
But that's where, when sometimes people are really relaxed in the shower or the bathroom and they get that. They've been pondering that problem and all of a sudden they get a solution or they get an idea. That's because your nervous system is calm and relaxed, and that information was able to come in.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And I teach what I call compassionate self-coaching. And it starts out with compassionate awareness. I mean, even if we're aware of things, generally it's a critical awareness, but being able to say, no, compassionate awareness, where we can be present with whatever is going on from a place of self-compassion. Being able to say, whether it's, yeah, I'm in pain right now. But rather than getting angry at my body, I'm going to have compassion on myself, like we would our best friend. And just being able to sit with whatever is going on, a emotion, a thought, a sensation, from that place of no judgment. And then the second part is then self-coaching. What do I want to have happen here? And that might mean setting a goal for, I'm going to really work on this. And then the third part is then self-care. What is one small thing that I can do right now to care for myself in this process? And so that might mean going for a walk. It might mean just taking a few deep breaths. A lot of times, a few deep breaths can go a long way toward bringing down that limbic system and calming. It's amazing what a few deep breaths can do.
Which is why we hear so much about breath work.
Yes.
Yeah, and deep breathing. And when you meditate, what's the first thing you do? Notice your breath.
Yeah. Well, and what can happen sometimes too is that many of us who have this limbic overreaction, we can be perfectionists and we can tend to overwork. I see this a lot. And I'm leader of the pack here. Perfectionist and overworking it. I really have to keep an eye on that, because that's my limbic system trying to keep me safe. And I can, okay, let's relax a little. But we can try and do a 20-minute meditation first day out the gate. And our limbic system's not used to that. And it might go good the first time, but it might be really bad the next time. And it might just be very agitating. It might cause more symptoms. So we need to really be aware of starting slow and giving our limbic system, giving our nervous system small, manageable bites. So rather than jumping in with 20 minutes, it might just be take 3 deep breaths a couple times today. Maybe tomorrow, take 5 deep breaths. It might mean building really slowly when we have have a history of limbic impairment, so that the limbic system can slowly learn safety. We may have spent years sending messages of the world is not safe. And so now the limbic system isn't going to just flip a switch. It might take these tiny little baby steps along the way. And so I say that because I don't want people to jump into a big meditation. Oh, doesn't work for me. I'm hopeless. But it's not that at all. It's just that sometimes we need to take these little baby steps and teach that limbic system very slowly. Just like you wouldn't throw the child into the swimming pool if she's afraid of the water.
Mm-hmm.
You would take those small steps to teach her that it's safe.
Yeah. Be kind to yourself and know that you're just starting, and keep at it. You'll get better with that's why they call it a meditation practice.
Yes.
It's not a meditation race.
Yes. It's a practice. But when we step into it from that place of fight, flight, or freeze, then it can feel that way.
Yeah.
And so again, it takes that practice to be able to work up to it.
And I always recommend, if I had monkey mind too.
Yeah.
Everybody does. And I used to do self-guided meditation. So I would focus on the voice and focus on what they're describing and visualizing what they were describing, and which I automatically do anyway, because I'm a very visual person. But, you could focus on how you feel, or, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And yeah, you don't have to try to sit there with a clear mind. I think that's the fallacy, that people believe that you're completely clear while you're meditating. I still have thoughts come in,
all the time,
but I don't let it shake me. I notice the thoughts, or I notice I was getting a massage today and I noticed my thoughts were coming in a lot. And I said, let's just focus on the massage. Let's focus on how this feels. Let's clear the mind. So I still do that.
Mhm.
That's how I talk to myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I noticed some days meditation's easy. And some days it's just not happening. And
Hmm.
so those are the days when it's like just being extra patient with myself. I like to picture a shelf, and I put those thoughts on my shelf. I'll come back to you later.
Hmm.
Put the worries on my shelf and just kind of let them sit there until I'm done. And that really is helpful for me.
Me too. I mean, even when I'm, you know, doing Reiki on someone, I'm focusing on them, um, uh, you know, and their energy that's flowing. But then the thoughts come in, and I said, okay, we'll think about that later. Let's focus on Lori right now. So I just shift back to focusing on what I'm doing and what I'm working on
Hmm.
what I'm getting to.
Yeah. And we can do that not just during meditation, but we can do that throughout our day, that awareness of, okay, what am I focused on right now? And I know for me, focused a lot on, I'm really upset because this is hard because I'm tired right now. I didn't get enough sleep. I didn't do this. I'm not feeling good, or worried about what's going to happen later. But recognizing, oh, I'm focused on all of the worries right now. I can switch that focus to, I'm really grateful for what I'm eating right now. This is really good. I am so grateful that tonight I get to go see my friend. There's always things to be grateful for. And when we can switch from all of those worries and begin to acknowledge that maybe some of those difficulties are there, but there's also great things to be grateful for. We can have both at the same time. That can then help that limbic system to calm down. And honestly, until I learned about the limbic system, I didn't even recognize that my limbic system was overactive, because that was all I had ever known. And so it was really interesting to learn about bringing down my limbic system, because I'd have people say, is your limbic system really overactive? I don't think so, because it was all I'd known.
Hmm.
But then once I was learning to bring it down, like, oh, yeah, it was overactive at that point. And so it's just been really an interesting journey as it just continues to relax and to come down through just different things going through life. There's
Yeah.
always opportunities.
I'm so glad that you figured this out because it's really not relying on anything outside of yourself.
Right.
It's really going within and understanding yourself better and treating yourself better with your thoughts and your actions.
Yes, absolutely. In my book, I have a book called Rewire Your Wellness, and I tell an allegory, a story about a king. And this king, at his coronation, he gets his kingdom. And the king representing us, and the kingdom representing our body. And he gets a dragon who's the kingdom's protector. He gets a group of historians, which are the thoughts in our head. And he gets a ambassador who regulates the outside world. And so this king doesn't know how to lead. And so the dragon just gets out of control, burns down parts of the country. The storytellers, the historians start saying, oh, dragon's bad. Everything's bad. And so the dragon gets more and more agitated. And it really represents how we can just get so wrapped up. Our physical wellness, our emotional wellness, our mental wellness, and our relational wellness can just become such a a mess because we've not learned how to lead. And so then the king starts learning how to lead. So he starts being able to guide his dragon. He starts being able to see the kingdom and support the kingdom in its efforts to rebuild. He starts being able to guide the storytellers in the same way that we can now listen to our thoughts and guide our thoughts. And then he works with the ambassador to create healthy relationships. And so the king is now leading in the same way that we, our mindful self, can now start leading all of these parts of us. And we're no longer having to wait for someone on the outside to make those decisions or to make us happy. But we have the ability to make those choices ourselves.
I love that. Another way of saying it is, and I've said this often to people, are you in charge or are your
Mm-hmm.
random thoughts in charge?
Yeah.
Who's in charge here?
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to take charge. You have to notice the narratives in your head, the thoughts in your head, and examine them. And you know what? Reject them for the lies that they are.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, Lori, got a few minutes left. Can you share your website and any projects, classes you're working on right now?
Yes, I would love to. So my website is loriclemmons.com, LORICLEMMONS. And I have a book called Rewire Your Wellness, which is all about how do we handle balancing our emotional wellness, our physical wellness, our mental wellness, our relational wellness from that place of intentional self-leadership, so that we don't need to have the limbic system driving the bus, but we can guide that limbic system with honor and support, healing our body with support, so that we can be able to really effectively handle all those areas. I also, from my website, I offer a free ebook that really talks about how to do that, where to get started on that. So it's shorter than the whole book, which is kind of nice. It gives you a little bit of a briefer view of that. And then I have a YouTube channel that just has a lot of free videos, free information, how to rewire your wellness. What are some of the tools? What are the things we can do? As well as some guided meditations and visualizations that can really support people on this journey. I offer one-on-one coaching, and I also offer a group coach class that it launches about 3 times a year. So
Awesome.
yeah,
I was
so
going to ask you if you teach classes on this, because
yes,
I think it's really important for all of us to learn how to do this. And
yes,
we're not taught this. No one told us this was important. No one, and it's not anybody's fault, but we can still learn about it now.
exactly. And the beauty then is that we can then pass it on to our next generation. You know,
Yeah.
I know for so much of my kids' childhood, I did not understand it. And so now that I do, I'm now able to teach this to them, so that hopefully they can then pass that on to their kids at an even younger age. And we can really see some changes in the way, in general, that our culture works. But especially then just being able to set our kids up to be able to be healthy.
Definitely. Well, I want to thank you, Lori, so much for being on the show. I think this is super important for us to know and to learn and to practice. So definitely check out Lori's website and her group coaching and her one-on-one if you need more support.
That would be great. I would love to hear from people.
All right. Thank you.